Hi everyone, and welcome to Medicine for the Soul. My name is Allie Watson, and today is your Wednesday Warriors yoga class. You might need some blocks to help you with your practice, but otherwise, we will get started on our backs. Coming onto our backs, bringing the knees in towards the chest, hugging them in, rocking from side to side. And the next time your knees drift over towards the right, go ahead and put them into a twist. So allowing those knees to fall over towards the right, keeping your chest open, arms come out to a T or to a cactus. Breathing here, settling in. Slowing down the mind. Go ahead and inhale those legs back up through center. And then allow them to drift over towards the left on your out breath for a twist. Try to let go of any thoughts that are reoccurring or nudging. And go ahead and inhale back through center, hugging those knees in. You're going to allow your left leg to drift forward, straight out in front of you, hugging that right knee in towards your chest, away from the rib cage. So rather more into the armpit, choosing to flex or point through the toes. And then we're just going to send that right leg straight up in front of you. So straightening through that right leg up towards the ceiling. If you have a strap, I would suggest looping that around your foot and having something to hold on to. Otherwise, you can grab behind the hamstrings or maybe even behind the calf, ankle, or peace fingers to the toes. Only thing I ask is you don't grab directly behind the knees. So finding something that's comfortable. And you don't have to straighten your leg right away here. You can keep it slightly bent as we are just starting to wake up those hamstrings. Holding here. Feeling that stretch across the back of the leg, maybe in towards the calf if you're flexing your feet. Once again, there is no competition, so you can just keep that leg bent. And go ahead and release. We're going to switch sides, so bring that right knee in towards the chest, bring that left knee in towards the chest. You're going to extend that right leg out, pull that left knee in away from the rib cage towards the armpit, flexing or pointing through the toes. And then go ahead and take your strap, if you're using one, and loop it around your foot. If not, just go ahead and straighten that leg up towards the ceiling. Once again, feeling it out. If you want to start with a bent leg, that is totally fine. And grabbing in a spot that makes you feel comfortable. Again, trying not to expect too much from your body at this point because we're just warming up here. Go ahead and rebend that knee, bringing both knees in towards the chest, wrapping your arms around them, hugging them in. We're just going to go ahead and rock and roll up the spine into seated. Once you're in seated, go ahead and come onto all fours. Tabletop position, hands stack underneath the shoulders, knees stack underneath those hips, toes can be tucked or untucked. We're going to move through a few rounds of cat-cow, so dropping that belly, lifting the sits bones up, maybe gazing up. And then exhale, chin to chest, round and curl for cat pose. Really moving with your breath here, that's kind of the name of the game with this class. One more round, maybe pausing in places where you feel tension. And coming back to that neutral spine. Go ahead and take those knees wide, toes to touch, hips sink back onto the heels, arms reach out in front of you, forehead comes down towards the mat. Now is the time to go ahead and set an intention for your practice. Maybe there's something that you are holding on to that you would like to let go. This can be a simple phrase to call back to when you get frustrated. Take a deep breath in through the nose and let it go out through the mouth. Inhale and exhale. Option here to practice Ujjayi breathing if that is in your wheelhouse. Just sealing the lips, inhaling and exhaling through the nose with a slight constriction of the back of the throat. Maybe you make some sounds like you're Darth Vader. That's how you know you're doing it right. Or if you're not a Star Wars fan, you can say ocean waves. In your own time, when you're ready, we'll meet in downward facing dog. So coming up onto tabletop, tucking the back toes, sending the hips up and back, downward facing dog. 3 full breaths here. Lengthening the spine, sending the hips up and back. Trying not to dump the chest back towards the thighs, keeping your chest in line with your elbows and your biceps. Last breath. Go ahead and come up onto your high tippy toes, deep bend in the knees, look forward at your thumbs, and go ahead and walk to your hands. Forward fold. Relax the head, relax the neck. Maybe bring your feet hips width apart, grabbing for opposite elbows, swaying from side to side. Feeling that length across the low back here. Trying not to put too much pressure. Once you feel you've had enough, find some stillness. We're going to inhale, halfway lift, hands come to shins or blocks. Exhale, forward fold. One more, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise, really press into the feet, reaching those arms up overhead, mountain pose. Maybe gaze looks up at your thumbs. Exhale, hands to heart center. We're going to go ahead and take Surya Namaskar A. So coming to the top of your mat, toes come together, heels slightly apart. Tadasana, arms are out by your sides, palms facing forward. Roll your shoulders back and down. Inhale, reach those arms up overhead. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step the feet back to plank, top of a push-up. I want everyone here to bring this down on your knees. So bend those knees and lift up the ankles and cross them behind you. Hinging forward, lower yourself all the way down towards your yoga mat. Uncross those legs, send the feet out and behind you. Really pressing into the tops of the feet here. Hands are stacked underneath the elbows. Inhale, chest lifts slightly for low cobra. Exhale, forehead comes down to the mat. Tucking those toes, sending yourself through tabletop, and then up and back, downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Last breath. Inhale, high tippy toes, deep bend the knees, look forward at the top of your mat. You can step or float. Feet meet your hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise, reach those arms up overhead, mountain pose. Exhale, hands to heart center. So that is a version of Surya A that you can take at any time. I always like to offer that at the beginning of class. If you would like to move forward, we're going to do a few more rounds of that. So inhale, reach those arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, breath to movement. Exhale, plant those hands, step or float back, chaturanga. Shifting your weight forward, bending your knees, bending your elbows at a 90-degree angle. Taking that back bend as you inhale. And then as you exhale, send those hips up and back. Use your core here. 2 breaths. Maybe you try to work those legs straight now, only if it feels okay for you. Inhale, high tippy toes, deep bend the knees, look forward at the top of your mat. Step or float, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, root to rise, reach those arms up over your head, mountain pose. Exhale, hands to heart center. Let it all go if you've been holding in any breath. 1 round of breath here. Inhale. And exhale. We're going to run through that one more time. Inhale, reach those arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, hands to plant. Step those feet back, high plank. And as you ride out that exhale, shift forward into your chaturanga. Inhale for your back bend, Urdhva Mukha, or maybe Bhujangasana. And exhale, using that core to lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog, 2 full breaths. Go ahead and reach that right leg high up to the sky, opening up that hip, bending the knee. Maybe you find some movement there. Play with maybe opening and closing those shoulders. See how that feels. Ideally, we want those shoulders closed though. Go ahead and straighten, square those hips, and send your foot to step between your hands lightly. Spin that back heel down. Inhale, reach those arms up overhead. Hips are like headlights facing forward towards your yoga mat for warrior 1. This is, I would say, the most difficult warrior. We're going to hold here so those hips and hamstrings and inner hips get a chance to adjust. So if you need to widen your stance, be my guest. Deep breaths. And then exhale, go ahead and float those hands down to frame the foot. Step your feet back into a plank, and we're going to hold plank here. 3 breaths. That's 1. Really press those fingers in towards the mat like you're a lizard grabbing the ground. That's 2. And that's 3. Send those hips up and back, downward facing dog. Good. Again, just switching sides here. So inhale, lift that left leg up and back, bending that knee, maybe opening that hip. Playing with opening and closing those shoulders. Maybe look under your armpit for that foot. Straighten that leg, go ahead and square those hips. And then go ahead and step that left foot between the hands quietly. Spinning down that back heel, checking your alignment here. And inhale, reach those hands up for warrior 1. Notice how one side might feel a bit different than the other. Just checking in, making sure that you can feel that bend in the left knee, but that it does not surpass the ankle. You want to just make sure that you can see your big toes when you look over your knee. Breathe. And then we're just going to go ahead and release those arms down to frame the foot. Step the feet back into a plank. You can choose to take your vinyasa here, but if you would like to skip it, send your hips up and back to downward facing dog, or you can take a child's pose. Once you've finished your vinyasa, we're going to go ahead and add on. So as you inhale, send that right leg up and back, 3-legged dog, squaring down those hips, internally rotating those thighs. And then go ahead and step that foot quietly between the hands. Rotate that back heel down. Heel to heel alignment, or maybe heel to arch alignment here. As we windmill up for warrior 2. Arms reach out opposite sides. Gaze is over your front middle finger. Try and settle in here, keeping a bend in that front knee. Make sure that the knee stays in line with the ankle. As you inhale, we're going to go ahead and reverse our warrior, so sending that right arm to high five the back wall. And then we're going to exhale, warrior 2. Just like a ticking clock, we're going to go ahead and send our hands forward into side angle. And then inhale, back up, warrior 2. One more time, reverse that warrior, high five the back wall. Coming back through center, warrior 2. And then side angle. Opening across the chest. Coming back up, warrior 2. We're going to go ahead and cartwheel those hands down. Send that foot back to plank. Maybe taking a vinyasa or going back to downward facing dog. Good. All right, inhale, left leg reaches high to the sky. Exhale, step it through between the hands, setting up for warrior 2. Checking your alignment and windmilling those hands up for warrior 2. Keeping those arms strong, chest open, gaze over your front finger. And we're going to go ahead and reverse our warrior, high-fiving the back wall. Inhale brings you back up. And you ride out that exhale for a side angle. Inhale, warrior 2. Exhale, side angle. Excuse me, exhale, reverse your warrior. Inhale, warrior 2. This time we're going to go through that side angle. And coming back up. Ooh. Cartwheeling those arms down towards the mat. Stepping your feet back to a plank position. Bring those knees down towards the mat. Knees go wide, toes to touch. Sink the hips back. Child's pose. Breathing here. Good. You can stay here if you would like a longer bit of a child's pose, but once you're ready, go ahead and meet me back in downward facing dog. You're going to go ahead and send that right leg up high to the sky, and then bring it forward to step between the hands. Setting up for crescent lunge, go ahead and inhale those arms up overhead, igniting those hips, creating that sort of scissoring motion. You want to imagine that both feet are bunching the mat together to keep those hips square. Maybe to make this a bit more interesting, option here to bring your hands behind your back, interlacing the fingers, pressing the palms together, relaxing the shoulders back for a bit of a stretch. Now we're going to move into warrior 3 here. So staying heavy in that front foot but light in the back foot, I challenge you, if you would like to keep your hands the way they are in your warrior 3, to lean forward and begin to hop into your warrior 3. Now it's okay if you fall out. That is completely normal. Try to keep your hips level. Maybe focus on one point on the ground, your drishti, your gaze. You got this. Maybe bring your hands to prayer at your heart. And then go ahead and release both feet down to the mat for forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Plant those hands, step those feet back to plank position. Shift forward, chaturanga. Inhale for your back bend. And exhale, downward facing dog. Check in with yourself, see how you're feeling right here. Go ahead and inhale that left leg high up to the sky. Exhale, step that foot through between the hands, setting up for crescent lunge on the left side. Inhale, reach those arms up overhead. And then maybe if you took that interlacing behind the back, try and switch your grip here. So put your goofy thumb on top. We always have a funny way of like choosing a certain grip when we interlace our fingers. Roll those shoulders back. Once again, we're going to start going into that warrior 3. So becoming heavy in that front foot, light in the back foot, preparing for flight, hopping. And if you're like me and you love plants, you're about to get really close and personal with a plant leaf. It's a challenge. Whew. It's okay if you fall out. There's no shame in that. Everybody falls, especially on my left side today. Wow. Hold, you got this. You can use blocks too to bring the ground closer to you if you would like. Whew. Last breath. And then exhale, release both feet down to the mat. Forward fold. Bring your feet a bit wider than hips distance this time and really allow yourself to hang like a rag doll, swaying from side to side. I have a feeling that plant was out to get me earlier. Did not want me to balance. And that's okay. Go ahead and find stillness. Inhale, halfway lift, hands come to shins. Exhale, forward fold. Go ahead and slowly roll up vertebrae by vertebrae, up to standing. Head is the last thing to come up. Great. So we're going to take tree pose here. You can stay at the top of your mat or come lengthwise to your mat. It does not matter. You're going to ground down through that right foot, and then you're going to pick up your left knee, bending your left knee. Externally rotating that knee here and connecting it to your thigh or calf. Just avoid that knee area. What is a balancing class without tree pose? Bring your hands to your heart center. How you are successful at tree pose depends on a lot of factors, but sometimes if you're wearing slippery leggings like I am, it helps a lot to really engage that right glute and that right leg and really press your foot and your hamstring towards one another, and that creates that bind that's impossible to break. So that's a great tip. Maybe you float your tree, moving from side to side. Maybe a balancing pose as you close your eyes. Woo. And then we're going to slowly come out, stepping back to the top of your mat or wherever you want to do your tree pose. We're going to switch sides. So just this time grounding down through your left leg, bending that right knee, externally rotating it, right foot in contact with left inner thigh, calf, just avoid that knee and you'll be golden. One side's a bit more difficult than the other. Hands come to your heart center, maybe they rest on your hips. Maybe you try reaching them out. And then go ahead and release, coming back towards the top of your mat. Inhale, reach those arms up overhead, maybe take a back bend. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Go ahead and plant those hands, step those feet back to downward facing dog. And we're just going to come up onto our high tippy toes, deep bend in the knees, sit back onto the heels, and then we're going to send those feet out in front of us. We're going to take Janu Shirshasana, which is a one-legged forward fold. So reaching that right leg out in front of you, left knee bends, kind of like we just did that tree pose, right? So we're just going to take tree pose but seated. That left foot comes in contact with that right inner thigh, flexing through that right foot. Inhale, reach those arms up overhead. And exhale, leaning forward, folding forward over that right leg. Two more breaths here. And go ahead and come back up. We're going to switch sides, bringing that left leg out in front of you. Again, seated tree pose, that right knee bends, right foot comes in contact with the left inner thigh. Setting yourself up, reaching those arms up overhead, taking a deep breath in, and then exhale, folding forward over that front leg. No need to push yourself harder than you want to. Finding your edge, but being comfortable enough to where you can stay there. Last two. And slowly come up. And what isn't a class without Paschimottanasana? So bring those legs out in front of you, straight ahead. Remove the fleshy parts from underneath those sit bones. Flexing or pointing those feet. Again, reaching those arms up overhead. This helps you find length across the entire upper half of your body. And then folding forward, maybe even rounding if that feels good in your body today. It does not always have to be active. Relax the face, relax the jaw, relax space between the eyebrows. We're almost to Shavasana. With every exhale, allow your chest to dip a bit closer towards your thighs. Try not to force anything. And go ahead and come up slowly. We're going to find our way on our backs just how we started. So coming onto your back, bringing those knees into your chest one last time. Hugging yourself in for tiny ball pose. So you're just going to wrap your arms around your shins, squeezing yourself in. Go ahead and pick up that head and try and kiss your knees. Take a deep breath in. Even deeper. Hold at the top. And then exhale, let everything go. Legs reach out in front of you. Arms come out by their sides. Allow yourself to just be. Try to let go of anything that you might have felt throughout this class that wasn't productive. What matters right now is that you were here and that you showed up for yourself. You can stay in Shavasana for as long as you need to, but if you need to continue on with your day, go ahead and bring your hands to your heart center in a prayer position. The love and light in me honors and sees the love and light within each of you. Thank you so much for allowing me to guide your practice today. Namaste.